customization which you are able to create in like an hour. Customization with no worries that you will mess it up, because it's so hard to mess it up in this kind of customization. Customization which is so easy but at the same time so cool. Sounds great, don't you think? I'm talking about abstract art on clothes. In this video I will show you how to create abstract art on clothes, and I will show you tips for clothes, because abstract art on canvases is a bit different from abstract art on clothes. And watching this video you will be able to create perfect piece of clothing with an abstract design. I'm Daria and welcome back to Art Fashion channel. First, let me show you the difference between painting on canvas and painting on clothes. When you paint on canvas, you paint on a rectangular area, but clothing is not a rectangular area. Clothing has sleeves, backside, color, I don't know. Like, you should see it as a whole piece. In such way, you will be able to create much more interesting composition. And if on canvas you can create such very beautiful calm designs, such beautiful color transitions, on clothes you should create something dynamic, something with an energy. There should be some movement in your design, because such dynamic, energetic designs looks much more interesting, much more eye-catching on clothes. So on your sketch I want you to show this movement in a very schematic way using only lines, but I want you to think about the direction of your strokes, the direction of your movement. And once you created such schematic sketch, you can think about color scheme, but again, make it very schematic. Don't try, to plan in a very exact way where you put color, which color it will be, because you will improvise a lot in the process of painting. If you paint on a t-shirt, you should fix it on a cardboard, so then it will be easier for you to create strokes. And here is brushes which I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use just big flat brushes and a palette knife. And I think that you don't need any other brushes, you don't need small brushes to create abstract art. The bigger brush, the better. And the first technique of abstract art on clothes is pouring paint technique. But before starting to pour paint on a t-shirt, I want to explain one thing. In one of the most popular videos on my YouTube channel, video where I talk about 5 biggest mistakes beginners make in painting on clothes, I'm talking about that pouring paint on clothes is such a bad thing. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do such moves because such way you use too much paint, and then there will be stiffness, there will be cracks in the future. And now I'm gonna pour paint on my t-shirt. So let me explain. I'm gonna put a couple of drops of paint, and then I'm gonna use palette knife to turn these drops into one thin big stroke. And knowing that my artwork will be mostly one layer artwork, it's not a multi-layered artwork, I am able to use a bit more paint than usual, because it's just one layer, no other layers on top of it. But again, I'm following the same rule: the less paint, the better. The less paint, the softer your artwork will be. And I'm pouring just a couple of drops of paint, and then using palette knife I'm turning these drops into beautiful strokes and giving them a direction. And now I'm just improvising. I'm using palette knife, then I'm using brushes, then I'm using palette knife again. I'm changing direction of strokes. Like, again, I'm following the plan, I'm following the sketch which I created, but it's important to improvise when you create abstract art, to show your emotions, to show the moment. Don't try to create such smooth strokes, perfect strokes. You should improvise to show your emotions, to show your feelings, and to give an energy to your design. The color scheme for this t-shirt is black and red, very powerful color combinations, and it looks amazing on white clothes. So if you want to create very eye-catching, very strong abstract art, abstract design, I recommend you to choose such color scheme, black and red. And the next technique, paint splashes technique, I mix fabric paint with a small amount of water, just with a couple of drops of water in a cup, to water down paint a bit. Because I want to create paint splashes, and by adding water it will be easier for me to splash a paint. And also I will reduce the stiffness of paint splashes by adding water. And then just squeeze a cup and just pour paint in the direction of strokes, and such way you will add an extra energy to the strokes and extra energy to your design. And the same process for red color paint. And it's very important to get a perfect mix of paint and water, because if you add too much water, you will get such watercolor effect paint splashes. And if you want them to look like acrylic paint splashes, you need to add just a couple of drops of water to water down paint a bit, but don't turn it into watercolor paint. Paint splashes need more time to get dry, so don't touch them, let them dry. And now I'm gonna customize black t-shirt, but painting on black clothes is a bit different because black fabric absorbs color and it can be harder to get bright colors. But again, knowing that your artwork is gonna be mostly one layer, you can apply more paint than usual, you can pour a bit more paint. And if your paint have a good coverage, it will be hard for fabric to absorb such thick layer of good coverage paint. So even with one layer you will be able to get bright color. But if you want to paint on a t-shirt and if you want to get as soft artwork as possible, because t-shirt is so close to body and it won't be comfortable to wear t-shirt with stiff artwork on it, you can create base layer first, white base layer, and then on top of it you can apply color, and such way your layers will be thin and your artwork will be bright. The color scheme for this t-shirt is gonna be yellow and probably blue, but first I'm gonna create design using only white color fabric paint. And if you create first base layer using white color, you don't need to put too much white color, just a bit is enough, just thin layer of white paint is enough. Yeah, probably it won't be such crisp white, it will be a bit gray, but that is okay, that is enough for a base layer. And if you decide to create such white base layer first, you should accept that probably you won't be able to cover it up completely with color, because trying to cover it up with color, you will ruin this whole abstract art aesthetic, because your artwork will be too smooth. So yeah, you should accept that probably there will be some white strokes, some white spots in your design. And then you should let your base layer dry for like an hour, and then you can apply other colors. And now I'm applying colors using only brush. I don't want to use palette knife and pouring paint technique because I don't want to put too much paint because it's a second layer. I want to make it as thin as possible. So yeah, I'm applying with brush. And I decided to add outliners to create a couple of beautiful volumetric lines. Outliners which I'm using are Russian brand Decola, but I know that other brands produce such outliners as well. For example, Pebeo. I saw such outliners of brand Tulip. Of course, it's not a necessary technique, but if you are able to add some interesting technique to add an extra effect, like why not? Paint splashes. And you can also splatter paint with brush. Well guys, it was my fastest customization ever because I created 2 t-shirts in 2 hours. Well, probably as you're a beginner it can take a bit more time, but again it's an easy customization because it's not about artistic skills, but it's about emotions. Like if you feel anger, just show your anger on a t-shirt or on any other kind of clothes. If you feel happiness, just show your happiness. And yeah, it's really hard to mess it up, as you could notice in this video. Just pour paint, create very energetic paint splashes, and your customization will look so cool. Well guys, now I will show you the final result, but first, please support my channel with your like. Your likes are so helpful, and if you are new here, subscribe for more painting on clothes videos. And here is the final result.